Commander Vexthor of the Krillian Dominion had faced down enemy fleets, negotiated with hostile species, and survived 3 assassination attempts before his second molting season. None of that, absolutely none of it, had prepared him for what he found when he opened the door to his family quarters at 0300 hours. His cubs, both of them, the absolute terrors who had spent the last 6 cycles running his second-in-command ragged, were curled up like sleeping burrowers next to the human, the actual human, the one he had explicitly, very explicitly, told to stay in the guest quarters on Deck 7. According to YouTube analytics, 98% of viewers are not subscribed. That's a huge number. By subscribing the channel that is completely free, you'll help support the channel and never miss fresh content. Vexthor stood in the doorway, all 7 feet of scaled muscle and military discipline, staring at a scene that made absolutely no sense whatsoever. His daughter Kira, who had bitten 2 other cubs last week and declared herself too fierce for bedtime, was snuggled against the human's left side, her tiny clawed hand clutching the human's shirt. His son Rax, who screamed bloody murder if anyone other than family came within 5 feet of him, had his head resting on the human's stomach, drooling on her. The human in question, one Jessica Chen from the human colony ship Determination, was fast asleep, mouth slightly open, making a noise that Vexthor's translator unhelpfully labeled as snoring. She had one arm around each cub, like this was completely normal. Like she hadn't just committed what his people would consider either the highest honor or the most egregious boundary violation in their entire culture. He genuinely could not tell which. By the 17 hells, Vexthor muttered, his secondary eyelids flicking in confusion. The thing was, Vexthor liked the human. Well, liked might be too strong a word. Tolerated with increasing bewilderment was more accurate. Jessica Chen had come aboard the Talon's Edge 3 weeks ago as part of the new Human-Krillian Cultural Exchange Program, which was a fancy way of saying, let's make sure we don't accidentally start a war because humans think our greeting gesture looks like we're trying to strangle them. She was supposed to be observing their military protocols, learning about Krillian culture, and staying the absolute hell out of his personal life. Somehow, and Vexthor still had no idea how, she had gone from polite observer to person his cubs asked about every single day, in the span of 2 weeks. "Commander?" a voice whispered behind him. Vexthor turned to find his second-in-command, Tazara, standing in the corridor with a datapad and an expression that suggested she was trying very hard not to laugh. She was failing. Badly. "Don't," Vexthor growled. "I didn't say anything, sir," Tazara said, her mouth twitching. "You're thinking it very loudly. I'm just wondering if you need me to alert medical. You look like you're having a systems malfunction." Vexthor pinched the bridge of his snout, a gesture he had picked up from the humans. It was disturbingly effective at conveying his current emotional state. "How did she even get in here? These quarters are biometrically locked." Tazara glanced at her datapad with the kind of careful neutrality that told Vexthor he was absolutely not going to like the answer. According to security logs, Kira opened the door from the inside approximately 4 hours ago. Kira is 6 cycles old. She doesn't have door override codes. No, sir, but she does have your maintenance override code, which you apparently said out loud 3 times while fixing the environmental controls last week. The human helped her reach the panel. Of course she did. Of course his daughter, who had the memory retention of a military AI and the impulse control of a plasma reactor in Meltdown, had memorized his override code. And of course the human had helped her use it to commit what was technically breaking and entering. "Why?" Vexthor said slowly. "Was Chen not in her assigned quarters?" "She was, sir, until Kira and Rax apparently went to get her. They told her, and I'm reading directly from her incident report here, that the big bad space monster was going to eat them if the human didn't come protect them with her weird soft face." Vexthor felt something in his brain try to process this information and fail spectacularly. "The big bad what now?" "Space monster, sir." According to Chen's report, she tried to explain that there were no space monsters. Kira bit her. Not hard, Tazara added quickly, seeing Vexthor's expression. Just a warning, Nip. Then Rax started crying. Chen apparently decided that explaining military-grade security protocols to two terrified cubs at midnight was, quote, not the hill she was willing to die on, and came back here with them, and then fell asleep in my quarters with my cubs. In her defense, sir, she did send you 3 messages asking for guidance. You were in the command meeting with the Admiralty. For 2 hours, not 4. Tazara's expression shifted to something that might have been sympathy. The cubs didn't actually fall asleep until an hour ago, according to Chen's log. She was apparently telling them Earth stories, something about a bear family and porridge. The translation got weird. Vexthor looked back at the sleeping pile of human and cubs. Kira had somehow twisted herself into a position that looked anatomically improbable. One leg sticking straight up in the air, tail wrapped around Jessica's arm. Rax was now snoring in harmony with the human, creating a sound that was both adorable and vaguely concerning. This was fine. This was totally fine. He just needed to wake up the human, extract his cubs, and have a very serious conversation about boundaries and protocol, and not breaking into the commander's quarters in the middle of the night. He took one step into the room. Kira's eyes snapped open, that peculiar Krillian ability to go from dead sleep to full alertness in microseconds. She looked at her father, looked at Jessica, and made a decision that was written clearly across her tiny face. No, she hissed, her arms tightening around the human. Mine now. Kira, that is not how we acquire humans, Vexthor said, keeping his voice low. You said humans were for cultural exchange. I'm exchanging. She tells better stories than you. That stung more than Vexthor wanted to admit. I tell excellent stories. You tell battle reports. Jessica tells stories about pigs and wolves and houses made of different materials and the clear superiority of stone-based construction. It's educational and entertaining. When? Vexthor wondered. Had his 6-cycle-old daughter learned the word superiority? Kira, you cannot just take the human. She has quarters. She has a job. She has us now, Kira said with the absolute certainty of a child who had never met a problem she couldn't solve with pure stubbornness. She fits good. She's soft. She doesn't have scales to poke us, and she smells like those earth things she let us try, the circle food. Cookies. Tazara supplied helpfully from the doorway. Cookies, Kira agreed solemnly. She smells like cookies and safety. And there it was. The thing Vexthor had been trying very hard not to think about. His cubs had lost their mother 7 months ago. Ship malfunction, quick and painless, which was a horrible phrase that people kept saying because what else were they supposed to say? Kira had stopped sleeping through the night. Rax had stopped talking to anyone outside the family. They had both developed a fear of their own quarters, which was why they had been sleeping in Vexthor's room for the past 3 weeks. The ship's counselor said it was normal, said they needed time, said they needed security and routine and patience, said nothing about humans who apparently smelled like cookies and safety. Jessica Chen chose that moment to wake up, probably because Kira was now having an intense stare-down with Vexthor, and the tension in the room could be cut with a vibroblade. Her eyes opened slowly, confusion crossing her face as she registered her position. Then the cubs, then Vexthor looming in the doorway. Oh, she said. Oh no. Oh yes, Vexthor replied. I can explain. Please do. Jessica very carefully did not move, clearly aware that any sudden motion might wake Rax, who was still drooling contentedly on her stomach. So, your kids showed up at my quarters at 11. Said there was a monster. I explained there was no monster. Kira disagreed with her teeth. Rax started crying. I made a judgment call. You broke into my quarters. Technically, your daughter broke into your quarters. I was just an accessory to breaking and entering. Also, you might want to change that override code. Kira knows it. She knew the maintenance code too, and the emergency evacuation code. Your daughter is either a genius or a security risk, possibly both. Despite everything, Vexthor felt his mandibles twitch in what might have been amusement. And you decided. The appropriate response was to sleep in my personal quarters with my children? I decided the appropriate response was to make sure two scared kids felt safe, Jessica said, her voice losing some of its nervous energy. I sent you messages. You didn't respond. Your second said you were in a meeting. I didn't know when you'd be back, and these two were terrified. So yeah, I made a call. Court-martial me if you want, but I'm not apologizing for making sure they felt safe. The thing that got Vexthor, the thing that really got him, was that she meant it. This human, who had been on his ship for less than a month, who owed him and his cubs exactly nothing, had chosen to sit on his quarters floor for 4 hours telling Earth stories about architectural choices made by pigs because his children were scared. There's no monster, Vexthor said quietly. I know that. You know that. Your kids were not convinced. There used to be a stuffed animal, he found himself saying. A Nexu bear. Their mother made it. It went everywhere with them. We lost it during a cargo transfer 3 weeks ago. They've been having nightmares ever since. Understanding crossed Jessica's face. The monster isn't outside. It's the fear that comes when everything familiar is gone. Something like that. Kira, who had been silent during this exchange, spoke up. Jessica said Earth humans have a saying. The only thing to fear is fear itself, and also spiders. But spiders are real, so that's different. That is not quite how Franklin D. Roosevelt phrased it, Jessica said. Who's Franklin Roosevelt? A human leader, from before we went to space. Did he fight the spiders? Different kind of battle, sweetie. And there, that casual sweetie, like it was the most natural thing in the universe for this human to use endearments with his cubs. Vexthor watched his daughter's expression soften, watched some of the rigid fear she had been carrying for months ease just slightly. Commander, Tazara said from the doorway, you have the supply meeting in 4 hours. Vexthor looked at the sleeping pile on his floor, at his daughter, who was still holding onto the human like a lifeline, at his son, who hadn't slept this peacefully in months, at Jessica Chen, who looked exhausted and uncomfortable, and absolutely unwilling to move if it meant disturbing his cubs. He made a decision that was probably going to create 17 different kinds of paperwork. Tazara, please log that Cultural Exchange Officer Chen has been temporarily reassigned to family liaison duties, effective immediately. She'll be taking quarters adjacent to the family wing. See to it. Tazara's expression didn't change, but her tail did a little curl that meant she was pleased. Yes, sir. I'll have her things moved by morning. Wait, Jessica said. I didn't agree to... You broke into the commander's quarters, Tazara said cheerfully. You're either getting a promotion or getting spaced. I'd take the promotion. That's not how military justice works. It is on this ship, Vexthor said. You want to argue, or you want to keep my cubs from having nightmares? Jessica opened her mouth, closed it, looked down at Kira, who was now giving her the biggest, most manipulative eyes Vexthor had ever seen on a Krillian cub, which was saying something. This is extortion, Jessica muttered. This is practical resource allocation, Vexthor corrected. My cubs need someone. You're apparently that someone. Unless you have objections? I have so many objections, so many. Starting with the fact that I'm not qualified to be anyone's child care professional, and ending with the fact that this is probably violating at least 6 different parts of the Cultural Exchange Agreement. Noted. Counterpoint. Rax hasn't slept through the night in months. He's currently using you as a pillow and hasn't woken up once. Jessica looked down at the small Krillian child drooling on her shirt. Her expression did something complicated. That's fighting dirty. I'm a military commander. I fight to win. Using your cute kids as weapons should be against the Geneva Convention. What's a Geneva Convention? Kira asked. Rules about warfare, Jessica said. Does it say you can't use cute? Kira's eyes somehow got bigger. There's no rule specifically about cute, but there should be, Jessica said. She sighed, long and defeated. Fine, fine. But I want it on record that I'm doing this under duress and also because your kids are adorable and I'm weak. So noted, Vexthor said. He watched as Jessica carefully, very carefully, shifted position so she could lean back against his sleeping platform without disturbing either cub. Kira immediately adjusted, tucking herself more firmly against the human's side. Rax mumbled something in his sleep that sounded like more cookies, and settled deeper. "You're just going to stand there watching?" Jessica asked. "I'm trying to figure out how to explain this to the Admiralty. Tell them the truth. Your kids kidnapped me. I'm a hostage. This is a whole incident. I'm not telling the Admiralty that my 6-cycle-old daughter successfully captured a human. Why not? It's true. It makes me look incompetent. You are incompetent. At door security and override codes and keeping your military secrets from first graders." Kira perked up. "What's a first grader?" "Human children your age," Jessica explained. "They go to school and learn things. I want to go to human school." "You're going to Krillian educational programming," Vexthor said firmly. "But human school has cookies." "Human school does not have cookies as a standard curriculum component," Jessica said, then paused. "Okay, sometimes there are cookies, but mostly there's learning." "What do they learn?" "Reading, math, science, how to share, why we don't bite people." "I'm not good at that last one," Kira admitted. "Yeah, I noticed. We're going to work on that." Vexthor felt something in his chest unclench slightly. The casual "we're," like Jessica was already planning on being here, on helping, on being part of whatever strange new configuration his family was becoming. "Chen," he said quietly. "Yeah, boss." "Thank you." Jessica looked up at him, surprise crossing her face. "For breaking into your quarters and falling asleep with your kids. For being here when they needed someone. For not overthinking it. For just being soft." "Soft," Jessica repeated, a smile tugging at her mouth. "Is that what we're calling it? You're a human on a Krillian warship. You have no scales, no natural armor, no defensive capabilities to speak of. You're built like something we'd keep as a pet. But you walked into a situation with 2 terrified alien children and made them feel safe. That's not weakness. That's the most dangerous kind of strength there is." "Was that a compliment?" "I can't tell if that was a compliment or if you just called me a pet." "Both. Neither. I don't know anymore." Vexthor rubbed his face. "It's 3 in the morning and my cubs have adopted a human. I'm not thinking clearly. Join the club. I'm pretty sure I signed up for cultural observation, not full-time nanny duty." "Family liaison," Tazara corrected from the doorway, where she was still absolutely watching this entire scene like it was the best entertainment she'd had in months. "It's a promotion, comes with increased quarters and diplomatic immunity." "Diplomatic immunity for what?" "Whatever chaos these 2 cause with you as their accomplice," Vexthor said. "And there will be chaos. Kira has already been banned from 3 different sections of the ship." "What did she do?" "Reprogrammed the food synthesizers to only produce dessert items for an entire day. Convinced the engineering crew that she was a visiting inspector from the Admiralty. Hid 17 medical scanners around the ship because she wanted to see if anyone was paying attention. She's 6. She's a menace." "I'm right here," Kira pointed out. "I know. I want Chen to understand what she's agreeing to." "I already agreed, under duress, because of the cute." Jessica looked down at Kira. "You're trouble, aren't you?" "The best kind," Kira said solemnly. "Yeah, that's what I was afraid of." Rax chose that moment to wake up, blinking sleepily up at Jessica. "Did the monster go away?" "There never was a monster, buddy," Jessica said gently. "Just some scary feelings. But those are going away too, okay? Because you're here? Because you're safe. Your dad's here, I'm here, and nothing bad is going to happen to you. Promise?" Jessica met Vexthor's eyes over the cubs' heads. He saw the question there, saw her asking if she was allowed to make that promise, if it was okay to offer this kind of comfort. He nodded slightly. "I promise," Jessica said. "You're stuck with me now." "Good," Rax said, and immediately went back to sleep. Vexthor looked at Tazara. "Get me the paperwork for a family liaison position. Backdated to today, and increase her security clearance. If she's going to be with my cubs, she needs access to everything. Everything, sir. Everything. She's family now. Tazara's tail did another pleased curl. Yes, sir. Welcome to the family, Chen. I didn't agree to... Jessica started. Too late, Kira said smugly. You said we're stuck with you. That means you're stuck with us. That's how it works. That's not... Jessica looked at Vexthor helplessly. Actually, Vexthor said, in Krillian culture, that's exactly how it works. You made a promise to my cubs. You're packed now. I'm what now? Pack, family. The thing you humans call found family, I believe. Jessica stared at him. I've been here 3 weeks. And you've spent more time with my cubs than anyone outside Bloodkin in the last 6 months. You've made them laugh. You've made them feel safe. You've given Rax the first full night's sleep he's had since his mother died. Vexthor's voice went quiet. You think I'm going to let you walk away from that? This is insane. This is how we survive, Vexthor said simply. We find our people. We hold them close. We don't let go. Even if one of those people is a random human who got in over her head. Especially then. Jessica was quiet for a long moment, looking down at the 2 cubs who had claimed her as their own. When she spoke, her voice was thick with emotion. I don't know how to be Krillian family. Good thing you have us to teach you, Kira said. First lesson, you're not allowed to leave. Second lesson, you have to tell us more stories. Third lesson, cookies are mandatory. That's not how lessons work, Jessica said, but she was smiling. It is now, Kira said firmly. Vexthor watched his daughter, fierce and stubborn, and so much like her mother it hurt, claiming this human as her own. Watched his son, sleeping peacefully for the first time in months, trusting this strange, soft creature to keep him safe. Watched Jessica Chen, who had signed up for a cultural exchange and ended up with a ready-made alien family, looking overwhelmed and terrified and absolutely unwilling to back down. Get some sleep, Chen, he said quietly. You're going to need it. These 2 wake up at 0500, and they wake up ready to destroy things. That's not comforting. It wasn't meant to be. It was a warning. Great. Awesome. Love that for me. Jessica settled back more comfortably, both cubs adjusting to stay close to her. Hey, Vex. Yes, your kids are pretty great. Something warm and painful unfolded in Vexthor's chest. They are, and apparently they have good taste in humans. Apparently, Jessica said softly. Vexthor left them there, the human and his cubs, curled up together in a pile that should have been impossible but somehow made perfect sense. He had reports to file, paperwork to forge, and an entire command structure to convince that yes, the human was now part of his family unit, and no, he wasn't taking suggestions about it. It was going to be a nightmare of bureaucracy and protocol violations and probably at least 3 different kinds of interspecies incidents. He couldn't wait. Behind him, he heard Kira whisper to Jessica, "Did we do good? Is he keeping you?" "Yeah, sweetie," Jessica whispered back. "You did good. I'm not going anywhere." "Good, because you're ours now, and we're really good at keeping our things. That's mildly concerning, but also adorable. That's us, concerning and adorable. It's our brand." Vexthor smiled as he walked down the corridor, Tazara falling into step beside him. "Sir," she said, not bothering to hide her grin. "You just adopted a human." "My cubs adopted a human. I'm just doing the paperwork." "That's not how anyone else is going to see it. Then everyone else can file a complaint, which I will personally ignore. The Admiralty is going to have questions. The Admiralty can have all the questions they want. The answer is still going to be no. You don't even know what they're going to ask. Don't need to. Whatever it is, the answer is no. Chen stays." Tazara's expression softened. "Kira and Rax seem happy." "They do," Vexthor agreed. "First time in months." "Because of the human." "Because of the human," Vexthor confirmed. "Who apparently smells like cookies in safety. Could be worse things to smell like. Could be better things to base family decisions on. Could be, Tazara agreed. But you're not changing your mind, are you? Not a chance in 17 hells. Didn't think so. I'll get the paperwork started. Vexthor looked back at his quarters one more time, where a human and 2 Krillian cubs were sleeping in a pile that defied about 6 different regulations and made absolutely perfect sense. His cubs had found their person, and Vexthor had found his answer to the question he'd been asking himself for months. How do we move forward? How do we heal? How do we become a family again? Apparently, the answer was a 5'0" human who broke into his quarters, told stories about pigs with questionable construction skills, and loved his children like they were her own after knowing them for less than a month. The universe, Vexthor decided, had a deeply weird sense of humor. He was okay with that. More than okay, he was grateful.